last parliamentarian debate, which is by Peridot House, represented by University of Mumbai Law Academy. They will hold a debate on the subject of Social Security Code 2020. I request the participants to come ahead and occupy their parliamentarian seats.
Okay, yeah, we'll start. Yeah. I can ask.
You want to hold stand? Because I
Huh. Parliamentarians can sit, please.
बोल नहीं
नहीं सॉन्ग अभी the labor bill the labor bill Ma'am, you'll ask us to begin, right? Good evening, parliamentarians. So the legislative business is in proposition of Bill of Social Security Code 2020. Any motions in the House?
Speaker Madam, motion to discuss the Social Security Code.
Okay. Parliamentarians, rate through raising your hands. For yes, please raise your hands. Okay. 3, 4, 5, 6. And for no, please raise your hands. The House is in session now. The motion is passed. The Prime Minister, please begin with your speech.
Thank you for the recognition. आदरणीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं हमारे लेबर मिनिस्टर माननीय भूपेंद्र यादव जी को बधाइयाँ देना चाहती हूँ कि उन्होंने एक ऐसे वर्ग के बारे में सोचा जिसका राष्ट्र निर्माण में बहुत बड़ा हाथ है, जिन्होंने 44 कानूनों को मात्र 4 कानूनों में बदलने की एक मेहनत की है। श्रमिक वर्ग जो दशकों तक कानूनी जाल में उलझा रहा, स्थिति तो यहाँ तक थी कि हर क्षेत्र के श्रमिक के लिए एक अलग अलग कानून, फिर वो फिल्म जगत के श्रमिक हों, होटल जगत के श्रमिक हों या कंस्ट्रक्शन के श्रमिक हों, जिसे अब केंद्र सरकार ने सरल बनाया है। नए कानूनों के माध्यम से देश के करीब 50 करोड़ श्रमिक संगठित एवं असंगठित क्षेत्र के श्रमिक की सामाजिक सुरक्षा को ध्यान में रखा गया है। सामाजिक सुरक्षा मात्र एक सरकारी स्कीम नहीं है, बल्कि ये हमारा पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी से एक वादा है। अभी तक मात्र 30% श्रमिक ऐसे हैं जिन्हें टाइम पर वेतन मिलता है, जिन्हें सामाजिक सुरक्षा मिलती है, जो अब केंद्र सरकार ने बदलकर असंगठित क्षेत्र को भी ये फायदा दिया है। अब असंगठित क्षेत्र के श्रमिकों को भी टाइम पर वेतन मिलेगा, उनके भी बीमे होंगे। इस कानून के द्वारा केंद्र सरकार ने केवल श्रमिकों को ही नहीं बल्कि उनके परिवार और उनके बच्चों के बारे में भी सोचा है। और मैं इस सदन के हर सदस्य से ये विनती करती हूँ कि इस बिल का समर्थन करें। क्यों क्योंकि मुझे इसमें अटल जी की कुछ लाइनें, कुछ पंक्तियाँ याद आ
माननीय
रही हैं।
जी, मैं आपसे दरख्वास्त करती हूँ कि आप थोड़ा जल्दी बोलिए, क्योंकि समय का
थोड़ा
हाँ,
बस थोड़ा सा
आराम से।
थैंक यू। 15 अगस्त का दिन कहता है आज़ादी अभी अधूरी है, सपने सच होना बाकी हैं, रावी की शपथ न पूरी है। जिनकी लाशों पर पग धरकर आज़ादी भारत में आई थी, वे अब तक है खानबोश गम की काली बादली छाई। कलकत्ते के फुटपाथों पर, कलकत्ता आप सब जानते हैं, कलकत्ता के फुटपाथों पर जो आंधी पानी सहते हैं, उनसे पूछो 15 अगस्त के बारे में क्या कहते हैं। 15 अगस्त आने वाला है, आप सब जानते हैं। हम चाहते हैं कि उससे पहले हमारे एक ऐसे वर्ग के बारे में भी सोचा जाए जो बहुत, क्योंकि राष्ट्र निर्माण में जिसका बहुत बड़ा हाथ है, उसके बारे में सोचा जाए और इस बिल को अच्छे से अच्छी तरीके से समर्थन दिया जाए। और इसी के साथ मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम देती हूँ।
Any point of information? None. Rahul Gandhi ji, please up.
Thank you for the recognition. Given the historical slow growth rate of the coverage by the Employees State Insurance Corporation, it would take at least a decade, if not more, to reach the figures stated by the government. Though one must presume it has not factored in the growth rate of the workforce and of population, hence the families and the beneficiaries. A back of the envelope calculations, assuming status in every sense, shows that it would take around 20 years or more to reach the level mentioned by the government. Social security from the unorganized workers will cover the unorganized sectors and neither your nor their category of the gig and the platform workers. The latter is because while the SSC extend them, ESI, which is meant for organized sector, they are also clubbed with the unorganized workers in Chapter 9, which is primarily meant for enumerations of clauses relating to social security benefits for the unorganized workers. The lawmakers did not cure this anomaly concerning gig and platform worker status even after PSC's recommendation to do so. Like many clauses in the code, our intelligence is tested as here. It is not clear whether the agriculture sector, the domestic workers, the BD workers, for example, are included under the rubric of the unorganized workers, as there is no explicit definition of this akin of those concerning home-based workers, self-employed, or the gig and the platform workers. The code fails to step up from the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act of 2008, which was the first of its kind to identify unorganized workers and then create a social security map for them. But it collected these huge funds that were left underutilized. Annual CAG report audits on the union government for the years after this act was announced, which indicated that only half or less than half of the budgetary allocations for the social security benefits was actually spent by the government. Thank you.
Any point of information for the same? None. Amit ji, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
Thank you, Honorable
Yes.
Speaker, Madam. I, Mr. Amit Shah, the Home Minister of India, would like to present my greetings to the Honorable Speaker, Madam, and all the reputed members of this House. The Social Security Code has been a long uphill battle of the ruling party to come up with such provisions where, irrespective of the workers from unorganized sector or organized sector, there is a proposal for the betterment of every employee and worker in this country. Bringing the attention of the House to the fact that labor laws in this is in the content list of the Constitution under Article 246. And hence, the ruling party has ensured to clear the position of the center and the state in avoidance to any further dispute in the country. Bringing the attention of the House to Section 12, which calls for a board of trustees in every state constituted by the central government in consultation with the state government, where these boards can exercise powers and perform various functions assigned by the central government. The central government can execute any provisions of the code and order the same for the state government. Under Section 12, powers for the same conferred to the central government under Section 149. For the ease of administration, the code also suggests for National Social Security Board and the State Unorganized Workers Board at the center and the state level respectively. Every state government shall constitute a building and other welfare construction workers welfare board under Section 7 and have all the powers conferred to it under Chapter 8 with the name to shed some light on the construction of building workers to ensure that they avail all the benefits under the provisions of the code. Stating a quote by Andre Gide, "No human masterpiece has been created without great labor. Country's fate lies with these hard-working workers and employees, be it any field or course. We assure this House that our steps would always be a result arising out of concern for their betterment." Thank you. Jai Hind.
Point of information any? None. Shashi Tharoor ji, please up.
Thank you, Speaker Madam. Because I was going through the code, and one thing the word which reminded me is agathocacological, mixture of good and bad. As we have a large treasury bench to speak about the goodness, about the well schemes which the government is providing. But first of all, the budget which has been allocated in 2022-2023 budget, which is 15,845.10 crores. As per the latest labor survey, the total population of organized workers is around 3.1 crore and unorganized worker is around 41 crore, which is total of about 45 crore. When you divide the total amount of workers to the amount allocated by the government, it is around 352.11 rupees per worker. And in this, around everything which the government is providing, whether it is national database for unorganized workers, Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, everything is involved under this 351.11 rupees. This amount is even less than an average cup of coffee in a Starbucks. I don't know how they are going to involve everything under this. Further, that is why I urge the Honorable Finance Minister at least triple the budget, make it around 45,000 crore, because this budget is nothing but an insult to the hard-working worker of our country. Further, it is not the right of the government, it is the sovereign right of the parliament to make laws, not the government. Just because they have number, it does not mean that they can make laws for the country. In Section 6, subsection 2, clause C.4, the point is very ambiguous how they are going to elect the members of the civil society, because a board is going to be constituted regarding the National Social Security Board, in which eminent members from the civil society are going to be elected, but no proper procedure has been mentioned in the code how they are going to be elected. So they can be the people of the government, so it can be a bit biased. That's why the opposition want there has to be a proper procedure how they are going to elect the member from the civil society. Further, in this board, 2 members of the Lok Sabha and 1 member of the Rajya Sabha are also the part of it. They have not mentioned that the members can be of the opposition. That's why we are proposing to maintain balance, because in any national level executive committee, generally opposition leaders are involved. So we are proposing the name of Mallikarjun Kharge, our leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha, and Adhiranjan Chaudhary, and any other big opposition leader which the treasury bench feels is experienced enough to provide them with enough knowledge. I would like to conclude my speech with a poetry, if the speaker, madam, allows.
Yes, please proceed.
जब जब जुल्म जुल्म करेगा सत्ता के गलियारों से, चप्पा चप्पा गूंज उठेगा इनकलाब के नारों से. Thank you.
Point of information, if any? No. Now we'll go to Bhupendra Yadav ji.
Thank you, Speaker Madam, for the recognition. I, Bhupendra Yadav, Minister of Labour and Employment, express my humble greetings to Honourable Chair and fellow parliamentarians. Our government, after taking into consideration the views of all the stakeholders and the problems which were faced during the existing laws when they were in force and they are still in force, we have formulated this code. We have taken into consideration all the views of the stakeholder and the problems which are currently faced and have formulated this code. The Code of Social Security 2020 subsumes 9 legislations, namely the Employment Compensation Act, the Employees State Insurance Act, the Employees Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provisions Act, the Employment Exchanges Act, the Maternity Benefit Act, the Payment of Gratuity Act, the Cine Workers Welfare Fund Act, the Building and the Other Construction Workers Welfare Cess Act, and the Unorganized Sector Social Security Act of 2008. I am highlighting the most important amendments which we have brought through this code. Firstly, this code is mainly for the benefit of the unorganized workers, the gig workers, the platform workers, and the definitions of the same are provided in the Act. Furthermore, the code proposes to provide social security to all the workers in the unorganized sector as well as the organized sector. Appropriate government will provide the toll-free centers and the helplines or facilitate more things which will be in benefit of the unorganized sector workers. The inspector cum facilitators besides inspection will advise the employer and employees for compliance of the code. Furthermore, the central government will also frame rules relating to life and disability cover, accident insurance, health and maternity benefits, old age protection, cliche and any other benefits as may be determined by the central government. Furthermore, the appeal will be allowed by tribunal if 25% of the dues are deposited and determined by the officer instead of 75% under the existing laws. Overall, with the enactment of this code, we are moving towards a more developed economy by satisfying the needs of the workers. For the workers are the foundation of this nation. The workers who are very much important, mostly in building the infrastructure, we are giving them benefits, and we ask the opposition to also support us in this bill and also suggest any amendments, and we will take into consideration and we will move forward with the voting of this bill. Thank you.
Point of information. Please proceed. You have only 1 minute for each question, so please make it quick.
According to the periodic labor force survey, 52% of the total salaried employee do not have any sort of social security benefit. The new code does not place a high priority on implementation. Rather, the government has added points instead of attempting to implement what was already in place.
The Social Security Code is actually for that purpose, madam. It is for the purpose that under the existing laws, the implementation was not proper. And by the enactment of this code, we are also removing all the ambiguity and the vagueness which is there in the existing laws. And that is why by this enactment of the code, we are just moving a step forward, and we will take many such steps to implement and execute whatever are the benefits for this all the organized and unorganized sectors.
फारूक जी, आपको एक सवाल था.
Why are the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights 2019 not amalgamated into Social Security Code 2020?
Sir, to be very precise, we have codified all the labor legislations, and this act in itself is a new act, and that does not require amalgamation with the new code.
फारूक जी, आप.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. पता है सबसे ज्यादा मुश्किल काम क्या होता है? उन लोगों को आजाद करना जिनके दिलों में गुलामी छुपी है, Jammu and Kashmir is observing third anniversary of abrogation of its special constitutional status via Article 370 and bifurcation and downgrading of the states into two union territories. The government has brought up schemes like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Mudra, PM Ujjwala Yojana, scholarship and welfare schemes for SC, STs and OBCs, and many more which are appreciated. But Union Minister of Social Justice and Environment on 11th June 2022 said that, quote, after the abrogation of Article 370 and Article 35A, the gates of development have opened in Jammu and Kashmir. It will reap slow and steady. People will benefit from it. The establishments will flourish, end quote. Schemes like Jan Dhan Yojana are regardless of money, but where to invest. The question arises, is these schemes are for whom? Where is the benefit for the people of Jammu and Kashmir? People of Jammu and Kashmir are not reaping but weeping. People are unemployed, jobless and threatened. Yes, I speak of the unorganized labor today. The irony of the flourishing establishments is that benefiting the private establishments. The people of the fertile land of Valley, where people reaped fruit, are jobless today. The unemployment has escalated to 16.37% today. The apple industry in Jammu and Kashmir is the largest employment generator, providing 400 man-day of work per year per hectare of orchids, employing 3.5 million and contributing 10% to the GSDP.
फारूक जी आपका समय
थोड़ा समय. I bring in to stand and amend and give the apple industry the rightful establishment and let the people of Valley have the rightful social security they were promised. Let the fertile land made for the cultivation of apple, willow wood and sericulture flourish under the establishments instead of the corporations and the big firms where the locals can't be employed. Madam Speaker, मैं गवर्नमेंट से दरख्वास्त करूंगा कि कश्मीर के मजदूरों की अहमियत देखी जाए. हम गांधी के भारत में पनाह चाहते हैं, हमें काफिर ना देखा जाए. In conclusion, I would say, if not able to take decisions of an ordinary people living in a democracy, it means that you are slave and not democrat. Thank you.
Point of information any? None. Nirmala Sitharaman ji.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the recognition. The ruling government has always been the biggest supporter of the marginalized and the people who lack in representation. The Code of Social Security has been drafted keeping this issue in mind. The budget that was allocated in the year 2021 to 2021 was 10,180 crore, but it has increased. Now it is 13,134 crore that has been given to the Social Justice Empowerment Ministry. The various benefits made through this code, among others, is the interpretation of the word wage has broadened. Now, any or all gross compensation that is more than 50% of the basic pay will be included in wage. This will not only increase the amount that is collected in the provident fund, but it will also help the employees, as they will have to give less, and the employers will have to give more because they deserve it. The code provides employee state insurance to any establishment where the majority of employees wish to avail this benefit. Also, the code has made special provisions for any establishment where there is hazardous occupation. There, the government can make any and many schemes for the people because those people need the most of protection. This scheme also extends to the gig workers and the unorganized sectors, whether they are hired directly or indirectly through a contractor. This is a very, very good initiative taken by the ruling government. The code has reduced the number of years for any journalist up to 3 years for availing gratuity. This is a very big step because it takes years and years for the people to be able to get the benefit that they deserve. Unlike in the Payment of Gratuity Act 1972, which was much more, the number of years were much more. Gig workers will also be able to avail for the disability coverage, maternity benefit, etc. Last but not the least,
आपका समय खत्म होता है.
बस एक मिनट. Last but not the least, one of the very, very important betterment taken through this code is cess shall be levied and collected through the Social Security Code and welfare for these workers who work in the buildings and establishments and constructions through the employers from 2% to 1% depending on the circumstances. And this will be used and for the betterment of the workers and for the people who work for building construction and give their sweat and blood. Thank you.
Point of information for this. Please proceed.
My question to the Finance Minister is regarding the payment of the grant. So, as also mentioned in section 53, the provisions of this section is very limited. It is inaccessible to the unorganized sector and the informal workers. And also it is similarly found in the Employees Provident Fund. So how does the code benefit the unorganized sector as a whole with regard to gratuity and the Employment Provident Fund?
Madam, everybody knows that how much this government has worked for the benefit of the workers. We cannot let this go. We have made a special provision which says collection of fund will be through center, through state, to the CSR and through the employers. And that fund will be used for the workers. So I hope that satisfies your question.
Mahua Maitra ji, please.
Thank you, Speaker Madam. I am Mahua Moitra. I stand here today on behalf of the party All India Trinamool Congress to point out the deficiencies in the Social Security Code 2020 and further put forward the amendments required in the bill. Honorable Speaker, although the underlying purpose of the maternity benefit within the code aims to protect the safety of the women and healthy upbringing of the child, the provisions of the maternity benefit is not universal. I am specifically focusing on section 60 subclause 2, which goes like, no woman shall be entitled to maternity benefit unless she has actually worked in an establishment of the employees from whom she claims the maternity benefit, which means that the maternity benefit is presently only applicable for the establishments like industries, factories, businesses, etc., which only employs 10 or more than 10 workers. As also mentioned in section 29, that the definition of establishment in the Social Security Code does not include the unorganized sector at all. The code is totally ignorant on part of covering the unorganized sector, and their social security is most importantly hampered. This is extremely disappointing owing to the fact that more than 50% of the Indian labor force is employed in the unorganized sector. And yet, the poor women engaged in this sector remain outside the purview of the maternity benefit. I stand before you to vehemently disagree with such a provision and no provision provided at all, and propose to amend and incorporate provisions which has a wider scope and provides benefits to the women belonging to the organized sector and unorganized sector. Additionally, there is absolutely no mention and no provision providing paternity benefits. Paternity leaves are indeed essential to ensure that the women gets some support from father during and especially after the childbirth. Thus, implementation of paternity benefit is the need of the hour and should be amended. Thank you.
Point of information from any? None. Naran Rane ji, please, aap.
Madam Speaker, the focus of the Social Security Code on providing the
क्या आप आपका माइक जरा पास पकड़ेंगे?
Madam Speaker, the focus of the Social Security Code on providing social security benefit to the unorganized sector implies an attempt of easing the compliance burden on employers is commendable. The correct implementation of the Social Security Code will address the social security concern and contribute towards the ease of doing business in India. Madam Speaker, currently there are the registration requirement under the various social security laws. The Social Security Code mandates every new business establishment to obtain only single compulsory requirement. This will lead to the administrative ease as establishment will no longer need multiple registration. The code grants the power to the government to formulate various welfare schemes for the workers in unorganized sectors, including for the workers outside the traditional employer-employed relationship. Further, this code will fund. This code established the Social Security Fund will be set up by the government to implement these schemes. In this regard, any establishment may make contribution under these schemes for unorganized workers as a part of their corporate social responsibility activities. This is a welcome move for the employees in the unorganized sector. As a temporary relief to the establishment, the central government can defer the application of the provision of the SS code for a period of 3 months in the event of the national disaster, pandemic or epidemic. This will provide temporary relief to the business from incurring extra costs towards social security contribution in the time of the crisis. Madam Speaker, the code introduced the much needed change of the regime that will bring about simplification, transparency, accountability in the labor and social security framework. While the employees will gain from the enhanced benefit and the simplification brought about by the code, employers will benefit by the operating under a more transparent regime that will enable better governance and compliance. Employer will also have a better opportunity to apply CSR funds toward the employees' benefit.
आपका हो गया? Point of information from any? Supriya Sule ji, please आप.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Good evening, everybody. I'm Supriya Sule, standing on behalf of the Congress. I extend my warm greetings to the Honorable Speaker and all members of the Parliament. Firstly, I would like to ascertain that the initiative that is taken by the government with respect to the Social Security Code is indeed praiseworthy. However, with due respect, the implementation of this code is not viable without addressing the pertinent loopholes. For instance, under Section 106 of the Social Security Code, there is a mandated registration requirement for every unorganized, gig and platform worker to avail the benefits of the code. The establishments in this case have to be registered with the respective organizations within the states. It is important to note that the 2020 draft of the code has blatantly disregarded the recommendations of the Standard Committee, meaning that there is no unified registration compliance platform for all establishments to register under a single authority. Furthermore, there is also not any mention of a time limit or a period or a specific time that has to be lapsed for the registration to be completed. Furthermore, the registration is also a very important prerequisite to avail the benefits under the Social Security Code for the informal workers. This is a very huge challenge because the process is largely digital, and owing to the lack of digital capacity and literacy, and because of the huge digital divide between unorganized informal workers and organized workers, it would be difficult to actually see this work in an implementational level. Furthermore, it is also difficult for these informal workers to furnish the documents that is required for the registration process. it has to be noted that almost all the informal workers, almost 72% of them are either casual laborers or they are sort of self-employed workers. These people have to go from place to place in order to earn their livelihood, to search for their livelihood. How does the government, in this case, expect them to furnish documents like income tax details, their finance details, previous employment proofs, and proof of residence and livelihood incomes? It is also very important to be noted that there is not an established traditional employer-employee relationship between, in the case of unorganized workers, including the gig workers and platform workers.
सुप्रिया जी आपका समय.
Yes,
Sorry.
Honorable Speaker, I'm just concluding. Please
Yeah.
give me a few moments. Our contention is that the complexity of registration processes in informal workers would really deter these workers from completing the registration process. And we would like a little more clarity from the union government as to how they are simplifying this process, taking into consideration the actual constraints of the unorganized workers outside of the procedures that as described in the Social Security Code. Thank you so much.
Point of information from any. Please proceed.
Madam Speaker, point of objection. Speaking about digital registration, we have career centers, and through that they can inform, like the people who are from rural development, they can go to the career centers and then they can do the registration. There's no need of the person having their own devices like laptops and mobiles. Thank you.
दीजिए जवाब.
Speaker Madam, the internet access is quite rampant in urban areas, but in semi-urban areas and rural areas, all maximum workers, especially the worker class laborers, they do not have access to internet or technologies like mobile phone, computer, laptops, and they expect them to register electronically is, I think, near to impossible. We have proposed, and we actually mentioned in our amendments that we want the treasury bench, the government, to provide like labor officer at panchayat level or at block level to provide proper organized manner to actually go village by village and pick them and help them to register themselves and attach their all the account details through Jan Dhan Yojana. That's all the freebies or the welfare schemes can be directly put into their Jan Dhan account. So that's what my honorable colleague wanted to. Thank you.
Kiran Rijiju ji.
Hello. Thank you, Honorable Speaker Madam.
आपका माइक जरा आप पास पकड़िए.
Sure. तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आज़ादी दूंगा, was said by नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस. इस दुनिया में, दुनिया का छोड़िए, हम भारत में रह रहे हैं. इस भारत में हमें अपने लेबरर्स का खून बहाना पड़ रहा था इन द सेंस. अब ये कोड आ रहा है, उसकी वजह से उनको बेनिफिट्स बहुत सारे मिलने वाले हैं. अभी उनका खून नहीं बहेगा क्योंकि हमारे बेनिफिट्स ही ऐसे हैं. लेट मी प्रेजेंट यू द पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ लॉ एंड जस्टिस. द प्रेजेंट कोड ऑन सोशल सिक्योरिटी 2020 इज एनैक्टेड टू अमेंड एंड कंसोलिडेट द लॉज रिलेटिंग टू सोशल सिक्योरिटी with the goal to extend the social security to all the employees and workers by breaking the grounds between organized and unorganized sector of India. In a country which has 92.4% of informal workers, and informal workers, I mean with no written contract, paid leave and other benefits, out of which 83% are from unorganized sector and 17% are from the organized sector. It was the need of yesterday to amend these labor laws that would align with the nation's economic interest, which had to be done yesterday, mind you. Article 38 of the Constitution mandates the state to secure a social order for promotion and welfare of the people. The new code introduces the same opportunity to protect and promote the unorganized class by widening and exploring the scope of terms like wages, insurance, gig workers, platform workers, aggregators, punishments for the offenders, and many more. In ground situation, the employees in the unorganized sector could really renounce their liability towards the workers due to the non-regulation of the terms related to social benefits of the workers.
रिजू जी आपका समय
I would like to extend it from 1 minute. please.
काफ़ी थोड़ा
30 seconds? Okay. The code has provisions relating to the constitution of separate tribunals, procedures relating to appeal into the high courts, and the extended scope of inspectors in the inspector cum facilitator are just an implication of the safeguarding of the fundamental rights of every individual worker and employee. The code complies with the right against exploitation, which is Article 23 and Article 24. The Article 41, 42 and 43 are also being resonated in the following code, giving no room for infringement of the legal rights of the concerned.
Point of information from any? Please proceed.
हेलो, हाँ, जैसा कि कानून मंत्री जी ने कहा कि ये लेबर्स को फ़ायदा होगा इस बिल के बाद, फंड इस्टेब्लिश करेंगे एंड ऑल, परंतु मैं बताना चाहूँगा कि 8,686 करोड़ रुपए का लैक है मनरेगा स्कीम में, जो कि लेबरर्स को उनके वेजेस नहीं मिल पा रहे हैं टाइम पे। उसके बारे में क्या कहना चाहेंगे कानून मंत्री जी? और हमारे मंत्री अश्विनी वैष्णव जी ने खुद एक्सेप्ट करा है कि 2,65,000 वैकेंसीज हैं रेलवे में, जो कि गवर्नमेंट की खुद का होली ऑन्ड सेक्टर है, और रेलवे के एम्प्लॉइज को एक्स्ट्रा काम करना पड़ रहा है क्योंकि 2,65,000 वर्कर्स कम है। तो उसके बारे में लेबर्स का एक्सप्लॉयटेशन हो रहा है, उसके बारे में क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
रिजू जी, क्या आप इसका जवाब चिट के दौरान दे सके हैं?
जी,
क्योंकि
हम दे
हमें
सकते
समय की कमतरता है।
हम आपसे अग्री करते हैं।
आगे मुलायम सिंह यादव जी।
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया कि उन्होंने मुझे मौका दिया सदन को संबोधित करने के लिए। जैसा कि प्रधानमंत्री जी ने सदन के शुरुआत में बोला कि वो और उनकी समस्त मंत्रीगणों ने काफ़ी मेहनत के बाद पिछले 44 कोडों को हटा मिला करके 4 में बदल दिया है। विपक्ष इस बात की सराहना करता है कि उन्होंने काफ़ी मेहनत की है, लेकिन अभी भी इन 4 कोडों में काफ़ी कमियां हैं, जो कि मेरे साथी आपको धीरे धीरे करके बता रहे हैं। उनमें से कुछ है जो मैं आपको अवगत कराना चाहता हूं। जैसे कि भूपेंद्र जी ने बोला कि इस बार इन्होंने कोड में वर्कर्स का 3 भागों में बांट दिया है, जिसको इन्होंने नाम दिया है गिग वर्कर्स, प्लेटफॉर्म वर्कर्स और अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड वर्कर। लेकिन इसकी जो परिभाषा कोड में लिखी हुई है वो स्पष्ट रूप से संकेत नहीं करती, क्योंकि इन्होंने जो परिभाषा कोड में लिखी है अगर उसको हम ज़मीनी स्तर पर देखें तो उसमें काफ़ी परिवर्तन है। उदाहरण के तौर पर अगर किसी के पास कार है और वो उस कार को चला रहा है, और अगर वो दिन में जो है किसी प्लेटफॉर्म को यूज़ करके अपना सोर्स ऑफ अर्निंग रखता है, सपोज दैट ऊबर या ओला जो हमारे देश में अभी चल रहा है, तो आप उसको प्लेटफॉर्म वर्कर्स में रखते हो। लेकिन अगर वो शाम के टाइम में इन प्लेटफॉर्म को यूज़ ना करके वो खुद से अपना प्राइवेट यूज़ करता है, खुद की मतलब खुद से सोर्स ऑफ इनकम अर्न करता है, तो वो जो है अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में जाता है। तो इससे ये प्रूफ होता है कि आपकी जो परिभाषाएं कोड में लिखी हुई हैं वो ज़मीनी स्तर पर काफ़ी अलग हैं। और जैसा कि आपने कोड में बोला हुआ है कि आप जो बेनिफिट्स वर्कर को देंगे आप इन 3 विभागों में बांटने के बाद देंगे, तो उस बेचारे गरीब ड्राइवर का क्या होगा जो दोनों कैटेगरी में आता है, आप उसको किस कैटेगरी के तहत बेनिफिट देंगे। और आखिरी में मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि इस बिल को लाने में आपने काफ़ी मेहनत की है। विपक्ष मैंने पहले भी कहा कि सराहना करता है, लेकिन विपक्ष आपसे ये विनती करता है कि आप इस कोड को जल्दी से जल्दी लाइए, क्योंकि वो जिनके हाथों में छाले हैं, पैरों में बीवाई हैं, उसी के दम से रौनक आपके बंगले में आई है। तो इसलिए विपक्ष आपसे विनती करता है कि आप इस कोड को जल्द से जल्द संसद में पारित करें। धन्यवाद।
पॉइंट ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, आप चिट के दौरान दे सकते हैं क्वेश्चन. हाँ.
Thank you for letting me speak. Dear parliamentarian, the benefits under the classification of gig workers, platform workers, and unorganized workers are of similar nature. Even more, the individuals would be asked to justify and choose their options while getting themselves registered. So the question of ambiguity, if to be further discussed in the valuable time of the parliament, it would be a bootless errand to run.
स्मृति ईरानी जी.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the recognition. The Code of Social Security has very well defined and widened the scope of women in workforce. According to the Chapter 6 of the Code, explains in detail as to how the government will be providing for and working to protect the women and children in today's world. The Code of Social Security recognizes the various risks and concerns involving pregnancy and has drafted the maternity benefit according to those lines. The maternity leave has now been extended to 26 weeks of paid leave, with 8 weeks prior to the birth and 18 weeks following the birth. A commissioning mother as well as an adopting mother too shall be provided with 12 weeks of paid leave so as to nurse herself and her child. The journey of a woman from her home back to work should not be dreaded but celebrated. There should not be the fear of leaving a child alone at home. For this, the code has included a clause so as to provide for a child-friendly environment in any organization with 50 or more employees. Women today are leading giant economies and are contributing to the GDP of the country. Women have, are, and always be the core of our Bharat. The Ministry of Women and Child Development agrees to the totality of the protections given under maternity benefit and supports the Act. Thank you.
पॉइंट ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, क्वेश्चन बताइए, आंसर.
My question to Ms. Smriti Irani is, although it was mentioned in your speech regarding the increase of time span for the maternity leave, there are absolutely no provisions regarding the paternity leaves and no provisions at all. And the male employees entitled to equal provisions? And what are you proposing for the same? Thank you.
The chit shall be provided. Thank you.
सोनिया गांधी जी.
Thank you, Speaker Madam, for recognition. The interplay between maternity benefit and employment benefit has to be analyzed from two perspectives. The first relates to the effect that the longer maternity leaves period have on women employment in general, whereas the second relates to the effect maternity leave has on women return to the employment. Follow the same with reference to the first perspective. It has been observed that the progressive demand for longer maternity leave is justified from a medical perspective. However, several studies suggest that the longer maternity leaves have resulted in reduced or likelihood of promotion, upward mobility in management, chance of receiving a raise. This has resulted in several economists and policy makers questioning the causal link between the longer maternity leave and women welfare. We believe that the Code on Social Security 2020 could have incorporated more flexibility with respect to the scheme of maternity leave provided from therein. One change that could have been incorporated is allowing women to avail maternity leave between 18 to 26 weeks as per their preferences.
सोनिया जी, आपका समय.
1 minute, just 1 minute. Thank you. This would allow women who want to return to work prior to the expiration of their maternity leave as an additional option while still ensuring that the minimum of 18 weeks is provided. Such employees could have been given the option to avail of the remaining benefit as an initiative in addition to their salaries. Thank you.
Point of information from any? Virendra Kumar ji.
Thank you, Speaker ma'am. Social Justice and Empowerment Department supports this code as the Code on Social Security covers most of the Indian population with adequate social protection in various situations in their lives. This code, which is a part of the labor law, deals with employee social security, have provisions on retirement, provisions on provident fund, healthcare, and so on. It covers one of the most important fundamental rights, which includes Article 21 of the Constitution, which states that the rights are included are essential to the human rights in the civilized society, such as food, clothes, house, medicine, and education. It also covers one of the most important article, Article 38, Clause 1. Thus, advocates social security for the Indians. Therefore, this code acts as an umbrella for the people during the adverse situation. Social security is not possible without social justice. This acts as a buffer against all the odds in the time of the need. This helps lifting millions of people out of poverty and raises the standards of people. As stated by Hank Johnson, representative of Georgia's 4th Congressional District since 2007, and I quote, "Social security is not just another spending program by the government, but it is a promise from generation to generation."
वीरेंद्र जी आपका समय समाप्त होता है.
जी स्पीकर मैम. With this, I conclude that the state is gradually advancing the right, though as mechanisms have been put in the place as policies, programs, projects, and legislations that enable the fulfillment of the right in question. Thank you.
Since we are running short of time, I'd like to conclude this session of Parliament. Members willing to pass out motion. आपका mic.
Thank you for the recognition. Before we move a motion for passing of the bill, after taking into consideration the views and the dissents which the opposition party has presented, we would like to make some amendments and then we will move forward with the voting of the bill. First and foremost amendment which we are adding on the suggestion of Mahua Moitra ji is the paternity leave. We will be giving paternity leave of 8 weeks, which will be amending in the Act. Secondly, we will also set up more career centers. Although there are career centers, we will strive to set up more career centers. Furthermore, we are just taking a step towards a better economy. If we don't take these steps, we are aware of the fact that there is no internet access in the rural areas. But if we don't take this step, if we don't move a step forward, we will not be able to go towards a more developed economy. And that is why we will also be providing internet access. Since we were hit by the most deadliest pandemic ever, we are low on budgets. However, in the coming years, when we have good budget, we will give more budget towards, we will allocate more budget towards the unorganized sectors, this code and implementation of the code. And with this, Honorable Speaker Madam, I would like to propose a motion to vote on this bill. Motion to pass the Social Security bill. The voting.
Yeah, and yeah. And people who are not favoring, please say nay. So we have majority people in favor. So the motion is passed and the bill is passed. Yeah, so the parliament is adjourned.
Thank you.